I was flying high with all the things I could do. I truly believed that this was going to be mine.
5 investigates with a deeper look at those annoying scam calls that most of us get every single day. They're actually a big crime and can often trick our loved ones.
Joan answered a phone call. That's all she did. The person on the other end told her she had won $2.5 million. Not $1 million, 2.5. They knew her street. They knew her neighborhood. They knew enough about her life to make the lie feel like truth. And over the next year and a half, payment by payment, call by call, they took $27,000 from her. She didn't tell anyone, not her family, not her friends, not until she couldn't pay her mortgage. On this channel, we break down how scams like this actually work. Not to scare you, but so you can see the patterns before someone you love gets caught in them. If that sounds like something worth knowing, stick around. We don't know Joan's last name. She kept it private. And that tells you something about her. She's a woman who holds things close, who handles her own problems. What we know is this: Joan was older. She had worked her whole life. She had a mortgage. She had life insurance. She had a network of family and friends she cared about deeply. She was, by every measure, a good person. A person who, the moment she thought she was getting $2.5 million, didn't think about herself first. Her first thought was, how could I help this one and that one? That's the detail that cuts.
Not only could I get out of debt, but how could I help this one and how could I help that one?
Most of us, if we thought we won millions, would think about ourselves first. Joan thought about the people around her. She was also a woman who handled her own finances, who paid her bills on time, who had probably never missed a mortgage payment in her life. She was not naive. She was not foolish. She was a person who received a phone call that was designed professionally, systematically, to convince her she had won money. And it worked, because it was built to work.
I believed him because he was so believable. He was so believable. He had the name of all the restaurants in the area. He knew all the streets. He knew everything about my home.
$150. That was the first payment. That's where it started. $150 to cover a lawyer's fee. And in the context of winning $2.5 million, $150 feels like nothing. It feels like buying a lottery ticket, a small investment to unlock something enormous. So she sent it, and then came the next call, another fee, taxes this time, a little more. She paid it, then another call, another reason, another payment. Each time, the man on the phone told her that this would be the last one, that the money was almost ready to be released, that she was so close.
I was late for school many times because I would run down to get it out really early because all I had to do was send him $150 and it would get this thing rolling.
This is the psychology of the con. Each small payment creates investment. You've already paid $500, which means you now have more reason to believe the $2.5 million is real, because the alternative is to admit you made a mistake. The human brain is not built to easily accept that it was wrong, especially when the alternative, I'm about to get $2.5 million, is so much more comfortable. So Joan kept paying, not because she was foolish, because the psychological architecture of the scam was specifically designed to exploit the way human beings think. The calls kept coming, the payments kept going, and Joan kept telling herself, just one more, and it's over. She couldn't pay her mortgage. She sold her life insurance, a financial safety net she had been building for years. Gone. She borrowed from family members, from friends, telling them she needed the money without explaining why. She was isolated inside the scam.
I lost $27,000. It's a great loss.
She couldn't tell anyone what was happening because the shame of it, the idea that she had believed something that now, in retrospect, seemed impossible, was more than she could face. This is not a character flaw. This is a documented psychological response to scam victimization. The shame itself becomes part of what keeps people trapped. By the time Joan finally stopped, by the time she finally admitted to herself what had happened, she had lost $27,000. Not from a single transfer, not from one moment of weakness, from a year and a half of hope, payment by payment, call by call, gone.
Joan got to a point where she couldn't pay her mortgage. She sold her life insurance policy, borrowed from family and friends.
How much did you lose?
I lost $27,000.
Quick pause. You're watching this because you care what happened to Joan. Maybe you're thinking about your own mom, your grandma, someone you love who might pick up that call someday. That's exactly why Love or Lie exists. I'm Jack. If you want more breakdowns like this, real scams, real people, no filler, hit subscribe right now and share this with one person who needs to see it before that phone rings. Okay, let me tell you what Joan was left with. $27,000 is not an abstract number. For Joan, $27,000 was her mortgage safety. It was her life insurance. It was borrowed money she now owed to the people she loved, the very people she had originally wanted to help if the windfall had been real. The cruelty of this particular scam is the reversal. But Joan didn't just lose money, she lost the future she had been imagining for a year and a half, and she lost it while simultaneously going into debt to fund the illusion. She told no one while it was happening, not her family, not her friends. This is the part that doesn't make the news reports very often, the psychological aftermath, the shame, the self-doubt, the question that every scam victim asks themselves quietly, in the dark. How did I not see it? The answer is because it was designed so you wouldn't. Joan finally broke the silence. She wrote a letter to the U.S. Embassy in Jamaica. 4 months later, an agent from Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, called her back. As a result of Joan's case, 4 people were arrested. 4. Joan lost $27,000 and her mortgage. 4 people were arrested. That's the math of scam enforcement right now. Joan's story is not unusual. That's the part that should disturb you most. In Massachusetts alone, the FBI reports that 1,200 people over the age of 60 lost more than $11 million to scammers in a single year. And that number is almost certainly low. Because of the shame that Joan felt, the shame that kept her silent for a year and a half, many older Americans never report what happened to them. The Jamaican lottery scam is just one variation. The number one scam targeting older Americans right now is con artists posing as IRS agents. Others pose as police, as utility workers, as tech support. The fastest growing scheme, according to federal investigators, is the romance scam, where criminals build fake relationships on dating websites and then extract money over months or years. These aren't amateurs working out of a bedroom. Mike Kroll, the assistant special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in Boston, put it plainly. Once they get money from these victims, it's like blood in the water. These criminal networks and transnational organizations have started to become much more efficient in how they target their victims. More efficient. That's the word that matters. They are learning. They are improving. They are getting better at this. And the institutions meant to protect people, the phone networks, the financial systems, the law enforcement infrastructure, are not catching up fast enough. Even the former FBI director William Webster, 95 years old at the time, and his wife were targeted in a Jamaican lottery scam. The FBI posted a recording of the call on their website. It starts pleasant, a friendly voice, a big number. Then, when the Websters push back, the caller threatened to kill them, to burn their house down. These are not people with any line they won't cross.
72 million. You're the first place winner.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill your husband. I'm gonna set your house on fire.
4 people were arrested because Joan finally broke her silence. We don't know if she got any of her money back. We don't know where she is now. Joan chose to keep her identity private, and after everything she went through, that's a choice that deserves to be honored. What we do know is that she did something remarkable. She wrote a letter to an embassy in a foreign country, explaining what had happened to her, and she waited. 4 months later, an agent called back. She turned her shame into action. And 4 people are no longer doing this to someone else's grandmother. If you have any information about Joan's current situation, leave it in the comments. This community looks out for each other. That was Joan. She was flying high, she said. She could see a future where she finally had room to breathe, room to help the people she loved. She's not alone in that feeling. None of us are immune to hope, to the idea that something good might be coming. These scams don't work because people are stupid. They work because people are human. The man who called Joan knew her streets. He knew her neighborhood. He knew enough about her life to build a fiction that felt like reality. And the only thing that can push back against that, the only real protection, is knowing what these patterns look like before you're inside one. That's what we do here on Love or Lie. I'm Jack. If this story made you think, if it made you want to call someone you love and just check in, then it did what it was supposed to do. I'll see you then.
If you could say something to the scammers right now, what would you say?
Please leave people alone. You know, we're good people. You know, we're good people. We've worked hard all our life. You know, leave the elderly alone.